Mark is somebody I had the great pleasure of getting to know quite personally because he worked for a company that was my client a couple of years back. And part of my role in that client was to kind of mentor everybody inside the company to get them to their optimal place so that they could perform at their best, I guess, is the best way to say it, which is kind of one of the things that I do. And Mark was somebody that I had the great pleasure not only of knowing and working with and sharing really personal stuff with, but Mark had an unusual role where my son, who was doing sales in the company, Mark was mentoring him. So I was mentoring Mark, not talking about my son, and he was mentoring my son, not talking about his dad. You can't make this shit up. Right? And Mark was an account manager at a fairly prominent digital advertising firm here in Phoenix. And but that doesn't define who he is as a person and what he's done in his life before then and then after then. Mark is someone who I would describe has a very big heart and chooses to live his life in authenticity as much as he possibly can. And he's one of those people that is always committed to constant improvement and getting better, making himself better. He invests in himself more than most of anybody I've ever met. And that is an incredible compliment, because that's the one thing that I think people do too little of, is invest in themselves. So Mark is somebody I would describe as has a deep sense of introspection about himself, knows himself better than most others know themselves, and tries to live his life in a way in which he aligns what he does with who he is. So with that as a backdrop and an introduction, I bet you not too many people would introduce you that way. With that as a backdrop and introduction, Mark, let me start by asking you this question. This is how you are as a person. How the hell did you get to be this way?
Oh, thank you. Well, first of all, I am learning to receive a lot more. And so I am going to receive all of those praises and also do it with the sense of humility, right? Because I think so often there's so many different things. I heard this years ago at a Brendan Burchard event, and he said, it took me 10 years to have an overnight success, and I think that's so true of so many people, right? And so much of that. And, it's been a journey, clearly. And it's been one that is riddled with, all of the challenges and ups and downs of so many people, right? And so how I got here, I have to say.
Well, how did you get to be this way is really what I'm saying. So introspective, trying to live your life in such authenticity. Where do you think that comes from?
That's a great question. To me, it's been out of a drive for a certain aspect of something that I've been striving for in a lot of ways. So I'll just say this and be super vulnerable and authentic and transparent, because to me, this is really where I feel like I've been growing the most from an authentic perspective and from a vulnerable perspective. I was really struggling back in 2008, after the economy took a downturn, and I talk about that story a lot, so I'm not going to talk about that. I had really struggled to have a serious relationship. And so in that whole sense, I was trying to figure out and find someone that I can connect with, not from the perspective of, and this is where I feel like I got it wrong for a while, which was the Jerry Maguire, you complete me. I wasn't looking for someone to complete me. I was whole and complete. I already knew that. I was looking for someone to enhance the happiness that was inside of me. And I couldn't
Life is better shared than alone.
Yeah. So I couldn't figure out exactly what was, quote unquote, and I'll say it, right? Because this was the internal dialogue. What's wrong with me? Right? So I went in search of that. And in the culmination of that as well, there was this whole idea of, I was trying to figure out what it is that I was supposed to do. Because I was successful in advertising. At the same time, there was something that was calling me at a much deeper level and that I couldn't quite understand. And so I knew that there was something deeper and I needed to resolve or really seek that. And so I went out on this journey, and went to my first Tony Robbins event in 2010. Actually, this is after I went on a trip over to Europe. It was my first trip. Actually, no, it was my second trip to Europe. And I was talking about, like, the one thing that I came back from that trip was, and this was back in 2010, was how can I take my life to the next level? And when I got home, about a week or so later, I get this letter, no joke. And this is the power of someone who actually understands marketing really effectively. And that's Tony Robbins. And it was almost, and I found this letter just the other day, but it is a little different than what I originally imagined, but it was something along the lines of, if you're looking to take your life to the next level, you need to come to this event. And I was like, that's what I just thought. That's what I just said. And so I went, I called up the next day and I was like, wait a second, I'm going to be walking on fire? What? No, really? Yeah. They're like, the first day you're going to be doing that. I'm like, what? At the same time, it was exactly the thing that I knew I needed to do. And so I took that step, and then I took the next step, and I took the next step. And all the while, I kept on discovering things about things that I was never taught in school. Human needs psychology, masculine and feminine energies. I mean, all of these different things that no one is ever talking about. It's like, what are you talking about? I've got masculine energy and feminine energy. What does that mean? And just all of those little things that, again, I had never had experience around before. And all of a sudden I was exposed to it. And I just had this voracious knowledge, or voracious hunger for knowledge, and my curiosity was growing at an exponential rate. And I also had the privilege, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to meet Tom McDermott.
Sure, I know.
You know Tom? Yeah.
In fact, Tom did one of his sessions with Jonah, my son.
Oh, that is awesome. I mean, talk about powerful work.
Remember, he was trying to get the young to get clarity in their life?
Yes.
He was doing that whole thing. So he did a whole free, hour session with Jonah.
I was on the receiving end of that as well. And I learned about my natural curiosity. And my natural curiosity is, how can I help simplify things for people to make the right choices? I was always. Yeah,
you had articulated that with me when we were working together inside of Calling Media.
Yeah.
I remember that because I asked you, what is, what's that thing? And you had articulated that.
Yeah.
So, what's interesting about your response is, I tell people say, Andrew, how did you become so introspective? And some people call me wise. And I'm like, I didn't always start out this way. It started out with a curiosity of life and myself and greater meaning and purpose. Mm-hmm. And for you, it started out because you wanted to be in a meaningful relationship. Mm-hmm. And you just climbed the stairs from there.
Yeah.
And the climbing of that stairs took you down so many paths. And, I think I should mention to the audience that, there was a time you did very well for yourself in advertising. I mean, you have a beautiful place right on Tempe Town Lake, one of those beautiful buildings that overlook Tempe Town. You have this gorgeous place. You've had some success in your life, but you've also chosen, you're the kind of person who's chosen to take a step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, to make sure you're doing things the right way and in an authentic way, and that's something I've always very admired about you. So let's share with our audience. So they know that you were a successful guy in advertising. Mm-hmm. What is Mark doing these days, and how and why does that align with where you're at now?
Oh my gosh, there's so much alignment. I mean, and thank you. And quite frankly, as a result of everything that's going on in this world, as a result of the social distancing and all what we're experiencing right now, it is, and I shared this with you last week when we met, and it was, we needed to have a breakdown in order to have a breakthrough. And we needed to have a breakdown in order to have a breakthrough.
I'm glad you said it twice. That's a powerful statement. And I told you I was going to steal shamelessly that line from you.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. And so, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. I was
No,
actually,
I asked you the question, why, what are you doing now, and
oh,
why how is it authentically aligned with you?
yeah. So here's the real insight and truth of what I've been experiencing. And you saw how I didn't even realize it was starting to record. Like, that's funny. And I love it that it's like, okay, here you are. Let's start.
Let's get started, man.
Art behind me. When I was 8 years old, I used to love to do anything artistically. And it would be, my mom would take me to the library and I'd draw or I'd color, anything art related. I remember I went over to a friend's house, one of their parents' friends, and their son had actually made this General Lee out of it was either cardboard or paper. And I went home to try and make it. And so I loved art. And I don't know when or how this kind of connected all the dots here, but I just recently had this revelation, and I have an amazing relationship with my parents. I love my parents. They are really the true foundation of how I have also become who I am. I know I've done the work, and I give them so much credit because they supported me through some of the challenging times that I've experienced over the last several years.
Fabulous.
And in my life, right? And so my dad, all well-intentioned, and I totally see this and I totally recognize this. It was like, Mark, you've got very expensive taste. You're going to need to make a lot of money, right? I mean, like, yeah, I live on Tempe Town Lake. It wasn't a cheap home. I bought in 2006. Not the best time to buy because it was.
I bought in 2006 too. Okay.
Oh, yeah, well. So yes, and I'm sure there's there's other people that are listening that have also done the same thing. And in that way, like he said that, and it was like, okay, well, then I've got to get serious about making money, right? And so I kind of put art to the side, and I dabble in it here and there, but it was like I kind of took off on this whole other path to go into sales and to go into all these other things. And it was kind of like, yeah, I did well at it. And at the same time, there wasn't as much of the joy around what it is that I'm doing now. And that is, as I've learned to go introspectively, I've also, the thing that I absolutely just lights me up is when I talk to my clients and I'm working with my clients.
Clients doing what?
From a coaching perspective, I look at it's helping them achieve deeper life fulfillment. So I do life fulfillment coaching. And what I do there is I give them the tools back and help them to connect to an inner knowing inside of themselves. So they don't need me. Like, the thing that I was always kind of like challenged with, quite frankly, is I was like, okay, bring in a client. They're good. All right, go do your own thing. Like, you don't need me anymore. And that is the best. It's not the best business model. At the same time, it's been the best thing for them. I mean, what I love is hearing from someone 3 years later and they're like, Mark, this is where I'm at. Like, I just spoke with a client a couple of years ago. I haven't worked with him. And he just said, Mark, when you and I stopped working together, I was number 2 of the company. Now I'm number one salesperson in the nation. And he sells in New York City. I mean, it's just, and to me, that's like, that brings so much joy to my heart because he's doing it. It's not me.
I love it. Look, you know what I do, right? What's so funny is I wind up coaching a lot of coaches.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something I had set out to do. It's just, just happened. Yeah. And you were one of them. And I could tell with you, I better like put my track shoes on because this is not somebody that you can just walk in and, you better know what you're doing with Mark Jamnik.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I want to say too, how much I honor and appreciate who you were for me in that rather challenging time, because there was a number of things that were going on.
A
relationship that, again, I think she's a wonderful person. Someone that's no longer in my life. And as a result of our discussions, I mean, there was a lot of amazing stuff that came from that. And so you were able to hear me and truly hear me. And that's what an amazing coach does. And that's why I honor and appreciate.
Well, thank you. But let me just point this out to the audience. So Mark just mentioned something that here I am talking inside the company. We go into a room inside the office and we're talking about his relationship. And most people will be like, Well, how could that be productive? How does that help the company? Well, let me tell you something. If somebody is miserable at home and it's affecting their work, and you can get them to a better place and get alignment in their life between their home and their work, you know, this somehow business owners, leaders, they miss this. I know you don't miss this, Mark, but they do. So I'm glad you brought that up. So you're doing some coaching, and what else are you doing? So catch us up. And then the last question I'm going to leave you with is this. If somebody can either contact you, engage you as a coach, or there's a certain kind of help or assistance that you need or that you're looking for, now's the chance to say it so that, you know, we can push this out to the universe, and you never know what can come back. So catch us up on what else you're doing, and then how they can get in touch with you, and then any help that you need, now's the time to ask.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. And thanks for creating the platform and the space for this. And so, you know, what else I'm up to? I'm really, really committed to connecting and helping as many people in that deeper life fulfillment side. So on Friday.
How do they get in touch with you for that?
Yes. So enjoylifedaily.com is my site. You can email me at mark@enjoylifedaily.com. And there's an opportunity that each week I'm doing this, I'm calling it the community call, where people come around. It's a virtual table, and I'm doing it on Friday mornings. So you could go to enjoylifedaily.com/community call and connect and sign up there, and you'll get the access to the Zoom link, and we'll have an opportunity to record it and talk about whatever it is that's really challenging for you at this point. So
folks, this is a former advertising, successful guy in advertising who's transformed his life and now has dedicated his life to helping transform others. There is one other thing I know you're doing and you're taking more seriously in your life, and I'm sorry I can't end this without you talking about it, and that's your artwork. You know what art means to me. We've had this conversation. Can you show them the other piece of art that you won't sell me?
Oh, yes. I'm going to need to go grab it real quick.
Go get it.
It's literally hanging up.
Go get it. So Mark, as he said, he was, you know, into art, and he never did it. And now he's starting to do it again. And he's like, really, I mean, look at this. That's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I love this part little too, because every little piece of art that I do, I don't know if you can see it or not, but actually I have a little J down there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but thank you. Yeah, someone was saying this is like kind of the sunshine through the clouds.
You're obviously good. I'm glad that you're pursuing that in your life as well.
Yeah.
You definitely have a proclivity for it. If somebody wants to buy your art, how do they do that?
So I'm going to be posting some of the pieces on my site so that people can take a look at it.
Same website.
On the same website, yes. And it's, I don't even know the page, but there's going to be.
It's fine. Just go to that website.
Just go to that website and look around. It'll be probably under About Mark, because I think it'll be under my About Mark page, but then I'll maybe put in a product page of some sort. But maybe, you know what, it'll be enjoylifedaily.com/product/art. So there, you just heard it. I just made that up.
You'll find it on his site. And it's also Mark Jamnik, Jamnik. Mark Jamnik. You should connect with him in LinkedIn.
Yes.
He's a connector himself. He's always looking to help people and connect them in whatever way that can help them. So Mark, thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure to have you on my show. I really appreciate you. I'm so glad you've reemerged back into my life, and keep doing what you do, keep being who you are, and always know that you ever need a resource for anything, I'll always be there for you.
I appreciate that, and thank you so much. And yes, I love the space that you're creating, because you're a giver, and it's amazing the world gives to the giver. So
well, I appreciate that. Thank you. This will be available for you on the Secret Sauce Society YouTube channel and everywhere else. So feel free to use it. You are a gem. Thank you. Go to his site. Go get some fulfillment in your life. Mark, total pleasure. Have a wonderful day.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye.